Hello, and welcome back to the second episode of our Minneapolis Riots Trilogy. In this episode, we'll be showing you everything that happened from the 28th day of May. From the aftermath of the night before to an entire day of organizing, protesting, rioting, burning, more burning, complete chaos, and a couple post office vans get stolen, destroyed, and burned. Welcome to today's episode of Leading the Way News. Alright guys, so before we get into this footage, I just want to talk about what's happening here and what you're about to see, right? It starts off very peaceful, this organizing. There's a large group of people. They're at the intersection of Lake Street and Minnehaha in front of the 3rd precinct, and they're just talking, when it starts out. But as the day goes on, as it turns into night, things get out of hand, okay? The city's on fire, there's a lot of burning, a lot of destruction, and to me, I just want to talk about why that happened, right? I don't want to make this political. I don't want to choose a side. I just want to talk about, you have a group of people here, and it's a large group of people, and they're upset, right? And instead of addressing their issue, the leadership just kind of abandons the area, right? You have George Floyd, who was killed by Derek and these 3 other officers, and instead of arresting him, right? This is the 28th day. This is 3 days after George's death. Nothing has happened yet. Instead of arresting Derek and addressing the issue or talking to the people that are upset, they kind of abandon the area and just kind of let the people have at it. So I don't want to make this a political thing. It's just an observation. When you have a large group of people that's upset about something, you have to address the issue or things are going to get out of control. And I think there's a larger lesson to be learned here from what's happening still, because yesterday and even today there's still lots of protesting going on. I think Pennsylvania had one of the biggest ones in the country yesterday. So what you're seeing is there's a lot of people that are very upset about this stuff, and unless you address the issue, you're not going to solve the problem, right? In this example, the police kind of pull out and things turn into complete chaos. That's not the answer. But it's also not the answer to get out there and dominate the streets like our president wants. You're just kind of squashing things and kicking the can down the road a little bit, because this problem is not being addressed, right? You have to address the issues if you want to have a society that works, okay? Regardless of whether or not you agree or not, either side. I don't want to make this political. I'm just making an observation, right? We gotta address the people, because there's thousands of people that are very upset, right? So there's just a couple 2 cents before we get into the video. So we're gonna join our protesters at the corner of Lake Street and Minnehaha, and they're just standing around right now. So let's check in with them and see what it's all about, right? So here we go. We are here during the day. Just a bunch of people talking.
The automotive zone right here is completely burned down. This is what the Wendy's looks like.
And we see some of the aftermath.
Burned down Wendy's. This is my favorite one. I live around here. These are the apartments that got set on fire last night.
And you can see, this is some of the aftermath we're showing you. If you want to see what actually happened the night before, you do see this building before it was set on fire. You see once it's on fire, what's happening and everything. So if you want to get the complete picture, go watch our previous episode, right? So we're just showing some aftermath here before we get into the real action of the protest a little bit later, okay?
Used to be 6 stories. 6 stories up high.
Wow.
There's water gushing from over there. The whole entire street is flooded right now. Today is Thursday the 28th of May at 6:57 p.m.
And I love that she kind of gives us the date there, so we know this is true, right? She's down there, and it's about 7 p.m., and she's just showing us the aftermath, right? And then we're going to see, as the night goes on, things kind of get out of control, right? So let's continue here.
The entire street is flooded with water from this building. Okay, update. From yesterday, and for the beginning of the protest, there's a lot of cars here. A lot of cars here. Mind you, none of these businesses are open.
Okay, so that's just an observation that I wanted to include from her, because I don't know why she points this out, but she's saying, these businesses are closed and there's been a bunch of cars in this area. So it's kind of, it's enabling the protests. It's a jump-off place for people to kind of organize and park their cars so they can walk over to the 3rd precinct, right? So it's just an observation by her that I wanted to include, So let's continue. Okay, she's in Target.
Holy shit, I came inside.
That's what she said.
Everything is flooded.
Okay, Target's flooded and nothing left.
There's nothing left to steal.
Everything's been taken.
Like, everything empty up in here. Everything empty.
It's crazy, 24
Everything
hours.
Gone. Dang, why is only the kombuchas left?
And then she points out, everything's gone except for the kombucha, and she's wondering why, that's the only thing left. And, the reason that's the only thing left is because kombucha is disgusting. I don't know if you've ever had kombucha, but it's got these little, kind of mucousy membranes floating, and the taste is not that great. So that's why the kombucha doesn't get taken, in case you're wondering. She's asking the question, and we have the answer here. So kombucha is kind of disgusting, right? So you can see why.
No. Why is the kombucha stench? Why does nobody like kombucha? This is disgusting.
Then we're back outside.
Something is on fire in the Target parking lot.
And we have a fire. And we have a car fire.
Somebody's car is on fire right now. Holy shit. Okay, this car is on fire. Wait till a little more people come in. And then there's some food over here.
And I want to stop here because I think it's very interesting, right? This is the only time you see people organized. Well, you see it one other time later in the evening when they're building like a barricade, but you don't see a lot of organizing here other than this. So if this is the Antifa that everybody's talking about, it's kind of interesting because to me it looks like just a few, nice white girls that are kind of organizing some food and safety stuff. But there's also a car burning nearby, and I think it's interesting to see. I think some of these fires are being lit and stuff, so it'll get the people to come, into this area. So I don't know if they've lit this car on fire close by to get people to come over here. I'm not sure. Interesting tactics if that is true, but I just wanted to point out this is the only organization that I see from the whole day. So very interesting stuff, right? Let's take a listen here.
People gathering food for everybody.
We're trying to keep enough for everyone, but if you need a snack, grab it. If you need some water, please grab some. If you need some shade,
Yes, this is a parking lot of Target. Parking lot of Target.
if you need anything, if you need your eye space, come here.
Come to the parking lot of Target on Lake Street.
Okay, so she's saying if anybody needs help with, if they're having, gas stuff in their eyes, if they need medical attention, if they need food, if they need water, anything, this is the group that has it for the protesters. So again, this is the organized aspect. But what I see here is just a few, nice white girls. I don't really understand if this is Antifa. I don't really think this is that scary of a group. I'm not sure if this is the group, but this is the only organization I see from the whole day. So let's see what they're doing here.
You want some food for everybody? Because I know it's hungry for the first 2 days. Some water. This is a Target parking lot on Lake Street. Some water.
And maybe he's involved. I'm not sure.
Medical help if you need it.
Medical help if you need it.
Those girls are definitely
And the
involved.
Target parking lot of Lake Street. Tear gas neutralizer.
Look how organized
on the
this
Target
is.
Parking lot of Lake Street.
Specific
They
bottles.
got spray bottles. They got milk. They got water.
Specific bottles for each thing. They're labeling it, and this seems very organized here, right? So interesting. They're taking donations. They're organizing stolen stuff. So it's just kind of eye-opening to see, right? So let's continue to watch.
Food, they got medical. They got everything you need. Everything's here.
For George Floyd.
It should The police station is across the street. From what people are saying, that the cops actually abandoned the police station and they just took all the weapons that were held there and they left. So there's no like blockade at the police station.
So, you know, this is part of why things get out of hand. You hear her say it. There's no police there. They've abandoned the area, and you know, you can just walk into the police station in and out, and that's why it gets burnt to the ground, because the guy who works there killed somebody, and now he's in Florida, you know, not getting arrested, no charges. So, you know, the angry mob is going to do what an angry mob does, right? They're gonna destroy because they're upset, because nobody's addressing their issues, and I think that's very important to talk about here, right? And I'm going to continue to try to nail that in, because it's our leaders that are failing here. It's not the people. The people are upset and trying to get justice. The leaders are the ones that are our real problems, and ultimately, I think, responsible for a lot of this, because they're not handling the situation very well. Okay, so let's continue.
Just enter and exit the police station like it's Target. It's mostly peaceful out here so far.
Mostly peaceful. A lot of different kinds of people out there, you can see. Not one group.
They put this up, and then they abandoned the police station. Third precinct has been abandoned. Yes, I'm at third precinct on Lake.
Okay, that's...
The protest lasts, however, like yesterday they was here till like 5 a.m. So I don't know how long the protest is gonna last today, but you know, I don't know. It's never gonna end until somebody gets arrested or indicted.
And she says it right there, right? Then they're not addressing the issue. They're going to continue to protest until somebody gets arrested or indicted. Now, people are still protesting now, not really in Minnesota as much, but all over the country, right? Because you still have people that are upset, and the issues aren't being addressed. But as far as this goes, right, they're going to continue until Derek's arrested. And on this day, the 28th day, he was not arrested. So that's why things get out of hand here, right?
Apparently we're marching to the state capitol.
Okay, so now we're in the nighttime, right? She had a couple hours where she went off live, and now it's dark, and we're with the same group of people, right? We have this guy with a blowhorn. He's trying to get people to march to the state capitol. He's trying to organize people, but it doesn't really happen. Nothing gets organized. People just stand around, watch the fire, and destroy stuff, mostly, is what you'll continue to see here, okay? Okay, it's just chaos. The street's trashed. We got fires. We got a lot of different people. And here's an example of that. We're going to see that guy later. Right, so you can see there, like she, you know, if she was talking online right now, people would be upset with her, because she's saying, you know, she's pushing a different narrative. She's not pushing the Black Lives Matter narrative, although she's upset about George Floyd, right? She's kind of saying women's lives matter, Native Americans' lives matter, and all these different people. So you can see here, even in this group, there's a lot of different people that are down there kind of with their own intentions, with their own reasons, right? But it's a group that's overall upset with the leadership and the way things are being handled with the police and the brutality and, you know, holding people accountable. Okay, so very interesting to see all these different types of people. But let's continue, okay?
I know it's bullshit.
And this is just chaos, right? The liquor store is burning. There's a lot of flammable liquids in there, so it gets out of control. Power lines catch on fire. It's a big mess, right?
Everyone just standing around watching everything burn. On fire.
Right, so, you know, they had the guy that wanted them to march to the state capitol, but they didn't get organized enough, right? They're just watching stuff burn. There's a large group of people watching it burn while a few others kind of destroy stuff and do the real violence in the burning, right?
That is the power line on fire.
You got a laser.
I don't know what that laser is.
Some sort of power beaming technology. I mean, it's just chaos. Now you got a couple of white guys destroying the police station. This is the 3rd precinct again. And then you got a lot of people just standing around and watching, right? Tons of people just standing around and watching, while just a couple people do the real damage. And the lights are going to go off and on, kind of from here on out. And you hear her say there's actually going to be riots soon. And I think, you know, when you're down there, like when I was watching this live, I was recording this live. It feels very intense, right? You don't know if the cops are going to show up. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if people are going to be down there with guns. So it's very intense, and she can feel it, right? She can say, you know, it's about to be a riot soon. So a lot happening, right? It's very intense. You got the biker gang that shows up. You know, this is straight out of a movie, right? The Fast and Furious guys show up here, revving the engines.
When the looting starts, the shooting starts. Okay, thank you, President.
And I wanted to include that because I think, you know, this is another case of our leaders not really addressing the issues and not really handling it well, because, you know, even down there, like this is, you know, Derek has not been arrested, George is dead, people are upset about it. And instead of holding the people accountable that did the wrong thing, right, Trump's coming out and kind of, he's saying when the looting starts, the shooting starts. So he's kind of against these people, right? He's not happy with what's happening here, and he's saying he's willing to, you know, he's not saying he's going to shoot the people, but he's saying this is, you know, when the looting starts, the shooting starts. This is a reaction. So I don't think it's the right reaction, right? Instead of shooting the protesters, you know, maybe arrest Derek and kind of, you know, help the people that are upset about the thing that is done, you know, that's been done that's wrong, right? So not the best way to handle things, right? So I just wanted to point that out, that the people there protesting are looking to our leader to see what he's saying, and it's not helping. Okay, so I think that's important to say.
The police precinct is still on fire. The liquor store is completely burned down. I think Arby's down there is still on fire. Trump said once the looting starts, the shooting starts. So apparently we're about to just start getting shot at out here. Okay. If you fall at any point, I'm gonna grab you and keep going. Okay. If I fall, you better grab me and keep going. Okay. You better drag me to the street. I just don't want to be shot, but I guess I will if I have to. Like, that's how I feel. Yes. Because we shouldn't have to fear our life for protesting.
So this is super interesting to me, right? This is 2 young girls. They're probably, you know, around 20 years old, and they're saying that they're willing to stay out there and protest. They're willing to get shot for what they believe in, right? These are people that are upset about George, and they want to have their voices heard, and they're willing to get shot. So, you know, whether you agree with them or not, there's a lot of people, and they're very upset. They're upset enough to get injured over what's happening here. So, I think it's important to hear what they're saying, right? It's very serious what's happening here. So I think we need to take them seriously, right? It's just an observation.
Don't be fooled. Step away from the fire for your own safety.
And this is that nice guy that was trying to get people to march earlier. Now he's trying to, you know, help people. And we get some chanting going again. Okay, we see the liquor store. We hear some gunshots. Definitely some sort of gunshot. I'm not real sure if it's bullets. We don't really find that out, but it's definitely some sort of gun. it's complete
The
chaos.
fireworks, let's go up in here. Fireworks is still being popped off. There's so many people out here. I don't know if you can tell. There's a lot of people out here still. There are lots of people out here.
Right, and this is, again, my whole point, right? Regardless of whether or not you agree with these people or not, there's enough people to where they're upset, they're destroying stuff, and you have to address the issue that they're having, just like what's happening now, right? You've got to address the issue. You can't kick the can down the road. You can't just abandon people. You got to address the issues that the people are having, because it's a large group of people. It's a lot of people that are upset. It's not just one group. So, and you can see that throughout this video here, okay? We got a couple signs here.
Mind you, there's no fire people out here trying to put out any of these fires. There's no cops anywhere.
No authorities anywhere.
There's nothing really happening right now besides complete chaos. Justice! Now!
And then some of the ringleaders,
Justice!
get the group going again.
Now!
And we'll see this guy with his shirt off again, the one in the middle with the object in his hand. We'll see him a little bit later. A lot of people.
The police precinct is officially completely engulfed in flames.
Completely in flames. We got a guy in a little Yeti suit here. He's by himself, it looks like. Not sure why he's out there.
They ain't got curfews deadly force.
And here's where
This
is where the real fun starts. When they get the post office van.
Smoke is coming from where Target is. I don't know where they shoot it from.
Okay, and we're about to get into some real action. They destroy this van, they flip it over, and they steal another one. It gets really exciting here. So hang in there, because we're about to see some action. Okay, so complete destruction of a post office van here. A lot of different people trying to destroy the van. And they take some time to flip it over here. It turns out it's not that easy to flip a vehicle. Even with this many people, they have to pop the tires and do a whole bunch of other stuff. And eventually get it flipped over. And I thought it was interesting. You hear that older guy talking about, how are we going to get our mail now? And I think he's the only one here that's kind of thinking about that right now, right? These other guys, they don't seem to be worried about it. I'm not sure how the mail gets delivered when the vans are gone, and if maybe it stops for a little while or what. But I think it's interesting. We have an older gentleman there, kind of having some foresight about what's going to happen with the mail. I don't know. So let's continue here. Pouring alcohol on the van to try to light it on fire. We got a Molotov cocktail here. That doesn't really work. And then we finally flip the van on its side. And it's a victory. There's our ringleader again, one of them. And then, they finally get it flipped over on its back here. And that's a win. They're excited. Okay, so now we have, the gas tank's open. They're throwing flammable liquids, really trying to get this fire going. And they get a second one. And sorry, you hear me laughing there because when I was recording this live, it was just so insane to see this live. You don't know what's going to happen. And when they get the second van, it blew my mind. So you hear me laugh a little bit there. And now they're going to take this van and destroy it as well, right? So you're gonna see more destruction here. So it gets really crazy here in a second. And everybody's excited. And there's a lot of people out here still. This is probably about 2 a.m. in the morning. Still a lot of people out there, right? The vehicle's now, catching on fire a little bit better, but you see the other post office van back there. There it is again. And you hear the guy asking how they got the keys to that. And I would love to have footage of, them figuring out this stuff and getting the keys and everything, but we don't see any of that. We just see them finding the vehicles and coming out and destroying them. And now they're about to drive one of the vans into a fire. It gets really exciting here. Now we got the white guy throwing something into the police station. More destruction. Fire's still going here. We've got a few signs. Black Lives Matter. No justice, no peace. Abolish the police. And this is the only other time I see some sort of organization happening, right? They're creating these barriers so that vehicles can't get in, very quickly. They get a bunch of metal stuff and then they throw organic materials on top of it and light it on fire. And you see that the previous night, you're going to see that in the next night, right? That's kind of a tactic that they're using to slow the police down, and you really see it used You'll see it in our next episode quite a bit. So, again, these are the only times I see organizing during the day with the food and the water and the medical supplies, and now this. So, I just wanted to point this out because it's really what's happening, right? So, let's continue here. We're almost done.
Can someone tell me where his gun's at so I can kick them out of the...
Really on fire now, right? They're throwing a lot of material into the fire. And there is no safe way to do what they're about to do. They're going to drive this van into a large fire to try to, ignite the fire even more. It's very, very crazy. And it looks like, things could have gone very wrong there, but they didn't.
This is the intersection of Lake Street and Minneapolis.
And it's great that she kind of checks in there again. And this just shows you the different amount of people, right? You got the girl with the microphone, you got the white guy, you got the anonymous guy, you got a guy that looks like he's kind of a hick, maybe country guy, and then he walks up and talks to maybe a high school buddy. A lot of different kinds of people. And, that's about it, right? You see the police station there. The liquor store that's on fire, and that's kind of where we end our night, right? And, we're going to pick up, we're going to do one more episode of our Riots Trilogy. We're going to show you on the third night, the police actually get involved, and the protesters kind of go head-to-head with them. So you see really the evolution of the protest in all its different forms, right? Because they take it on the highway, they go all over the place, and then the police try to get it under control, and it gets very kind of violent, and it's like a real fight, right? So it's very interesting stuff, and I really, I wanted to show this today because I think whether or not you agree with what's happening, the thing that I want to just press into people is that when you have this many people that are upset about something, regardless of whether or not you agree with them, you have to address the issue, right? And it's still a problem, right? We talked about it earlier, but there's thousands of people all over the country that are still upset and trying to protest, and they're not really able to. So, and the president's saying, we need to dominate, and so you got one side trying to dominate, one side trying to kind of enable, and nobody's really addressing the issues, right? It's becoming a political thing, and I think it's really sad that if we politicize this whole thing, because it's really about police brutality and George Floyd. So and but either way, again, whether you agree with it or not, we got to address these issues. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope you learned something. And until next time, my name's David, and this has been Leading the Way.